Hello, my name is Wally Lidberg, and I would like to tell you about my prospecting efforts in North Carolina. I was born and raised in Racine, Wisconsin, and I worked at Johnson Wax for 24 years as a product maker. While I was working there, I decided to look for gold in America. So I went to the Racine Public Library and started to read all of the books I could find on the subject. Gold mining in North Carolina because that was where the first gold mining took place in 1830. In fact, all the United States between 1830 and 1849 came from North Carolina. The miners at that time mined the easy gold as deep as they could, which was down to the water level. When they got down to the water table, into the hard rock, it was impossible for them to remove the ore or to process the ore. And so they had to go back to their farming or their other jobs and quit mining. Some of the miners in 1849 moved to California and followed the gold rush there and started to mine all the easy gold at the surface in California. The same thing happened in California as in North Carolina. When the amateur miners, or small miners, got down to the hard rock and the water table, they had to quit. They couldn't process the sulfides that they encountered at depth, and so they couldn't recover the gold. The large mining companies then moved in to California and started to mine in the mother lode and mined to extreme depths, thousands of feet deep, and took all of the gold out. It is amazing that the large mining companies never came into North Carolina and tried to mine here. The U.S. Geological Survey report states that there is 13 parallel gold veins in Rutherford County in North Carolina that run across the entire county. And 4 of these veins are 3 to 4 feet in thickness. And the survey says that these veins bear investigating deeper. So upon learning this, I decided to go to North Carolina, to Rutherfordton, and in Rutherford County and start looking for gold. I would take vacations from Johnson Wax and come down here for a couple weeks at a time and look around trying to find gold, and I was not successful. I finally met Julius Forney, an old black man that had worked as an underground foreman in the gold mines in Rutherford County until 1942, when the government shut the mines down because they were non-essential to the war effort. Julius was a nice man, a great Christian, and he was very generous. He taught me everything he knew about gold mining, and he proceeded to take me around the county and other counties, show me deposits of gold, how to pan, how to separate the gold from the rock, what to look for, and we became very good friends over the years and spent a lot of time together. Julius is dead now. He passed away a year ago, and I miss him. I finally, after several years of working with a pan and a pick and a shovel, decided to bring a tractor down here. So I brought my Massey Ferguson tractor down here from Racine, Wisconsin on a trailer, pulling it behind my camper. I bought a backhoe here for my tractor, a small backhoe that would only dig 13 feet deep, and I proceeded to dig trenches all over this county looking for a gold vein that contained enough gold to merit mining. I dug trenches from 1975 until 1981. For 6 years, I dug thousands of feet of trenches as deep as I could go, and I could go down 13 feet deep, dig a ramp, drive the tractor down the ramp, go another 13 feet deep, dig a ramp, and the deepest I finally got was 28 feet with this backhoe. Well, in 1981, I finally hit a vein, which was only 2 foot below the surface. And this vein had a lot of gold in it, and it looked like it was definitely worth mining. It was a large vein. So I took one sample from this vein at 28 feet below the surface. This sample was about the size of a golf ball, 3 inches long. And I took 2/3 of the sample and sent it off for an assay, and the assay came back 8 ounces of gold and 6 ounces of silver per ton of that particular ore. I had 1/3 of the sample left, and I used this third to show people, trying to get somebody to back me from 1981 until 1983. I tried calling W. Clement Stone, the Hunt brothers, Jimmy Carter, anybody that I found out had some money that might be able to back me. I wasn't successful at this. Finally, a friend of mine, Jerry Kahns in Racine, Wisconsin, suggested I form a limited partnership. I found out what a limited partnership was. I found out I needed to write a prospectus. I had to have this approved by the Commissioner of Securities in Racine, Wisconsin, or in Madison, Wisconsin, the state capital. I couldn't find anybody to write this prospectus. The big gun lawyers in Milwaukee, Wisconsin would write the prospectus, but they would not guarantee that they could get it approved by the Commissioner of Securities, because this was a very hard thing to do. So finally, I opted to write my own prospectus. I typed it up. I had a friend with a Wang word processor that helped me to type this up, and I sent this prospectus to the Commissioner of Securities. I asked them when I mailed it if they would tell me if there was something wrong with the prospectus and if I could correct it and keep doing this until it was right. And they said yes. They said they couldn't compete with private industry's attorneys, but they could answer any direct questions I asked them. So they proceeded to read the prospectus, sent back that this was wrong and that was wrong. There was many mistakes in there that they said I couldn't do. They said any positive statements in this prospectus were not allowed unless I had an immediate disclaimer thereafter. So if I said there was gold someplace, I had to say, well, if there isn't gold, then this is going to happen. So I proceeded to send this back and forth to them. They would tell me what's wrong. I'd ask them over the phone, how would you word this if you were to reword this yourself? And they would tell me, and I would write down their words, and I would type these in, or have this friend of mine type these in, and we would send another copy back to the Commissioner of Securities. He would read it, he would send it back and tell me what was wrong with it then, and he kept doing this, and I kept doing this for 7 months. After 7 months, they finally approved it, but their wording was they are not approving this prospectus, they are not disallowing it, which of course is a double negative, meaning that they did approve it. So now I had a prospectus that was approved, and they gave me permission to make 40 offerings to people to sell 30 shares in Wisconsin. And they said if I asked 40 people and these people said no, I could not ask another person. During a 2-month period, I proceeded to talk to people, asking them if they would buy shares in my gold mine for $10,000 for a 1% interest. I sold 30 shares at this time after a month and a half of talking to complete strangers. I was fortunate in this offering, and I did manage to sell $340,000 in shares, or interest, as Commissioner of Securities would call it. So then I had to quit my job at S.C. Johnson and move to North Carolina. So I took a 2-month leave of absence from S.C. Johnson, moved to North Carolina, and had to transfer the mineral rights to this vein from myself to this new partnership called the Monarch Mining Company Limited Partnership. And at that time, the Commissioner of Securities in Wisconsin released the $340,000 that was in escrow at the Heritage Bank. And this money was wired down to the banks here so that I could start working. Well, I had originally dug a trench on the vein and found the sample, got the assay, but before I left here I had buried the trench. And now I have a slideshow that I would like to show you what I have done since that time. This first slide shows the original trench right here that I had dug and I had buried. That is my tractor there. This was all solid woods. It wasn't cleared and open like this. It was full of snakes and black widow spiders, and it was very bad and dangerous. And so I proceeded to have a bulldozer come in, or actually it was 2